On January 22nd, 2023, I uploaded MTG, ranking all 2022 Legends day 1. I made this because I was listening to The Command Zone, and in a yearly wrap-up video, they mentioned how there were 383 Legends printed in 2022.
For one per day, and
wait, I got a YouTube channel idea for somebody out there. You
Yeah.
can have this one for free. You just every day,
Every day.
you do a 10 to 15 minute video about one of.
Not
the
even that.
commanders.
Just do it YouTube Shorts only.
There
It'll
you
probably
go.
be fine.
Yeah.
YouTube Shorts only.
2
and then
minutes.
Instantly take that to TikTok. Do the exact same thing.
So as a content creator who needed ideas for YouTube Shorts, I decided to rate every commander printed in 2022. And when I completed that, I decided to continue on, go back to Legends, and rank every Legend ever, which has proved to be a near impossible task. So after 680-ish of those shorts, I wanted to make this video, a sort of wrap up to the series. This video is about providing the framework on how I evaluate commanders, what I think makes a commander powerful, fun, interesting, or not, and what to look out for when you see a new commander printed today. And then I want to talk about how you can go about making your own system or framework to evaluate commanders. Lastly, I'll talk a bit about how there are so many Legends printed today. But first, if you want to buy some cards, check out Cool Stuff Inc. If you use my code TTM, you will get a discount and it supports the channel. Also, you can support me directly through Patreon if you want to join the Discord or get any of the other perks. So if you haven't seen these shorts before, I'll pause for a moment so you can watch all 680 plus of them. Go ahead, I'll wait. Okay, so what gives a commander a good score? When I evaluate commanders, there are a few key stats that I look at: power, variance and dex, and uniqueness. I think these traits make for a great commander. Let's start with power. I think this is somewhat obvious. You want your commander to do something strong. The reason these old Legends cards didn't get high scores was partly because they're just bad. The commanders don't do anything. It has no power, no oomph. I think most players will want their commander to feel like a key part of the deck. I do still have the opinion that your commander should not be the only important thing in your deck, but you do want a little bit of power when you cast your deck's leader. And a commander can be too powerful, of course. If your commander is so kill on sight that you either stomp the whole table or lose, I find that that can be a problem if you're looking for a fun back and forth casual experience. I acknowledge this is my personal preference and that I don't like my commander games to be win when I untap with my commander or lose to removal. It leads to these feast or famine games I'm not a fan of. Of course, power is also not everything. If they made a 1-mana 1/1 that won the game on ETB, it would be the most powerful commander, yet not very fun or interesting. We can see this with a commander like Arcades the Strategist. This is a commander I would score pretty low, like a 5 out of 10. Because although Arcades has power on it, the ability to chain through your deck with cheap walls is really strong. And on top of the card draw, it just adds so much power to the board so quickly. But Arcades loses out in the other two categories. Variance and Dex is something that I think makes an excellent commander. When I sit down to play commander and we all reveal who we're playing, there are times when I can instantly know what a large portion of your deck is. If you're playing Edgar Markov, Krenko Mob Boss, or any other deck focused on a creature type, I usually know a large portion of what's in your deck before you've played a single card. The same can be said for commanders that require a specific thing to function. Gimbal is a genuinely unique commander. It asks you to play cards that make unique tokens, like Toggo Goblin Weaponsmith or a Sicarian Infiltrator. That's how you get rocks and Infiltrator tokens. But it's also the only way to get those tokens, so you can expect a very large portion of Gimbal decks to have those and other similar cards. This might seem obvious, right? Commander decks will play cards that work well with the commander, right? But when a commander has effectively only one way to realistically build the deck, it begins to feel like generic soup. Compare that to Sephris of the Hidden Ways. This commander can be built with a focus on reanimation, dungeons, cycling, aristocrats. When you flip up Sephris, I have no idea what kind of deck you're playing. And when you build a Sephris deck, you have way more options in terms of themes and sub-themes which work within the deck. This allows for more options when you're building. You don't need to be a cycling deck to have value cycling cards in your Sephiroth list. It allows your deck to stand out more and be different than the next person's Sephiroth deck. I find a commander more interesting when there are more options. Again, this is personal preference. If you look at the EDH rec page for a commander and say, yes, all of those top cards, please, then, sure, that's a fun deck for you, even if it looks the same as someone else's. But it may lead to some difficulties. When you're making a Gimbal deck and you want to add this or that card, there's really only one best option for that effect, and it leads to less brewing within your own deck building. Uniqueness is the last factor I look at. Gimbal decks might not be very different between each other, but Gimbal does get points for being a unique card. Commanders that have unique strategies or do a special one-off effect are pretty awesome. It makes the commander feel more special. Let's look at Othari Sun's Glory, Aronis God of Victory, and Adriana Captain of the Guard. These are all different flavors of Boros Go Wide and Attack. Even though each deck might have some cards unique to their type of Boros aggro, they still have a tremendous amount of overlap in cards and ultimately play patterns. If you want to go wide and attack in Boros, you have quite a few options, and a lot of those decks are just somewhat similar. Compare that to Firesong and Sunspeaker, which is a Boros Spellslinger deck. There are simply less commanders that do Boros Spellslinger, and even less that do Boros Spellslinger the same way Firesong and Sunspeaker do. So those are the three categories: power, variance and decks, and uniqueness. Let's put it all together. A great 10 out of 10 commander would be something that is a unique effect, leads to multiple ways to build the deck, and has some real power. So what does that even look like? Well, there was one printed recently, which I think is one of the best designed commanders in a long time. I'm talking Neheb, Heart of the Storm. This card embodies everything I want in a commander. In terms of power, there's some real power here. Doubling the damage from a Warstorm Surge trigger, Elturel Survivors, or just a big hasty dude like Lightning Skelemental is very strong. You can easily destroy your opponent's life totals with just your commander and one other card. And notice how all those things I mentioned are very different. You can lean into big creatures and give them haste. You can make tokens with myriad effects. You can blink creatures that deal damage. This commander only wants you to deal damage with creatures that entered this turn. It doesn't care how that damage is dealt or what type of creature it is, which leads to very open-ended deck building. Also, there isn't another commander that does what Neheb does. If you want to blink a Sunspine Lynx for double damage, how many other commanders do that? There really isn't a replacement for what this does. And using the same framework, we can look at another dragon from the new Tarkir, Urani of the Unwritten. This is a low-scoring commander for me. In terms of power, it's just a big dude that makes another big dude, essentially. 2 bodies for the price of 1. Unless you attack, then it's 3. It reminds me of Desolation Twin, 2 big bodies on a high mana cost creature, which just leads to your opponents casting a Wrath, or not, and losing. That's kind of it. In terms of power, it's not nearly as explosive and dangerous as Mirim Sentinel Worm, where if you blink your board, you have enough power to take out the entire table, not just one opponent. In terms of uniqueness, the card isn't super special. It is a Dragon Synergy card, which we have many of. There is another one in those colors that I just mentioned. Additionally, creatures that ETB to reanimate or cheat creatures into play do exist, so there are other commanders that work for the same style of deck as well if you want to cheat big creatures into play. Lastly, there's very little variance between Urani lists because they really just want a ton of big dragons, haste, and a couple of blink effects. So this is really a 4 out of 10 for me. Of course, there's nothing wrong with playing the card. If you just want a less scary Mirim so your playgroup backs off and stops removing your stuff all game, I get that. It's just not a card which is particularly interesting to me. I don't see how I would make my list feel like my own if I'm just playing dragons and attacking just like everyone else's. I love brewing and playing interesting decks in Commander. To me, that's a big part of the format. I do really want to stress though, this video is not meant to be me telling you what is and isn't a good commander. This is my framework on how I evaluate commanders with the goal of helping you do the same. If variance between decks means nothing to you, that's totally fine. I hope that after watching this video, you can find 3 key points that make a commander exciting to you and create your own framework. Think of a commander you really love. Why do you like it? Is it because the card created a certain game state? Is it because the commander led to certain games ending in a specific way? Remember, there's no wrong reason to play a card in EDH. You can play a commander just because you think the art is cool. In fact, that can be a criteria for you. Try to find some axis where you can rank cards and put commanders on that. Hopefully it helps you find something you enjoy and narrow down the sea of new legends. Speaking of which, on to the last bit of this video. Why am I Sisyphus and am I happy? Doing this series daily was actually pretty tough. Doing almost anything for 680 days in a row or whatever is pretty difficult. But I had a lot of fun talking about these commanders. And even if I kept it up daily, I would never catch up. This is my boulder. 39 new legends from the Jumpstart sets, 34 new legends in Aether Drift, 26 new legends in Tarkir, and who knows how many in Spider-Man. Probably 50 plus, I'm gonna assume. Wizards will probably print more than 365 commanders this year and next year and probably the year after that. And this is a huge change, by the way. If you compare that to a set like Shadowmoor, which had 6 legends in total, you really begin to realize how massive the increase in commanders are today. It makes the task of ranking or rating or scoring all of them impossible. And now that YouTube Shorts can be longer than 1 minute, I can spend more time evaluating and talking about each legend, so the boulder is a bit heavier, even if that is my own doing. Yet, one must imagine the Trinket Mage happy. When I feel like making a short, I got an idea lined up. It's just the next commander in chronological order. And I love talking about commanders. I think it's awesome that we have 1 million legendary creatures today. I just ranted about how I like decks that are unique. And how do you get different unique commander decks? By having a lot of different unique commanders to choose from. Don't get me wrong, I love those old Shadowmoor commanders. Sig is one of my favorite commanders ever, and I currently play him. Yet, if Sig was the only Dimir commander, I wouldn't be very excited. There are so many legends out there these days. I bet you forgot about Ceylon Merry Champion, which is like a mono-red, heroic, storm, control, card draw, commander, Voltron. There's so many ways to build this card. Or Teiko, the Patient Avalanche, which is a Dimir Ninjutsu Blink Voltron deck. And those are just from Foundation's Jumpstart. There are so many new and cool commanders out there, you probably haven't even seen all of them, which means there's essentially no excuse not to be brewing something unique and fun right now. I love when someone sits down across from me at the table and they pull up a commander I didn't even know existed. Some random Thunder Junction card I've never seen before. It's cool. I have to start thinking about, like, what are they building? What are they doing? What's the point of this commander? And it's a lot of fun. And I love talking about weird, underrated, underused commanders. So I will continue to push this boulder up the hill. I'm going to try and rate every legendary creature ever printed. And I'll do the Planeswalkers too. Why not? Every commander. Who cares? It's impossible anyway. And I know I'm gonna just keep getting knocked down the hill every time Wizards prints 800 versions of Spider-Man or Iron Man or whatever, but I'm happy that there are more commanders than less. I hope you found this video interesting. Let me know if my framework helps you evaluate some commanders, or if you make your own system for ranking commanders, tell me about it in the comments below. And let me know what you think of the hundreds of new commanders. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thanks to my tier 3 patrons whose names are here. If you want to be in the credits, check out the Patreon.